Hey, folks, this is the Views Expressed podcast. Not a live show, but thank you for joining me on this episode. Listening to this episode, you didn't join me. It's a podcast. You can't get into the chat room. It's one of those days, folks. Hey, not going to be long, but I will say this. There are people, and you've probably encountered them yourself, who you will tell them something and they will always be contentious to you. They're not going to be positive. They're not going to be, any of that. But they will be very contentious. Very contentious. And whatever you say, they're just going to, say the opposite. Whatever you say, they're going to say it isn't true, it's not this. They're going to show you things that, that they might think will sway you from thinking the way that you do. It happens. It's all BS. Okay? I just posted something on a Facebook post about chemtrails. Actually, I shared a picture. It's probably up on my Facebook page about these units in these 737, modified 737 planes and others. And they say that it's water, this other poster, this person that replied to this post as well said it's water, it tests the balance of the plane, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's got an explanation for it. Let me be very straight with you. Scientists have looked at this. Scientists, not pilots, but pilots have come out and blown the whistle on the fact that the chemicals that they use in chemtrails that you see in the sky are put into the fuel. Okay? That's what it is. Now, scientists have gone to Mount Shasta in Northern California and other parts of the world and other parts of the United States and have tested the ground for certain elements that were supposedly in these, supposedly the chemicals in these chemtrails. Well, guess what? They found an overabundance of these chemicals in unacceptable levels on the ground. Now, to all you chemtrail skeptics out there, to all you people that say they're contrails, oh, that's just a contrail. Let me give you a definition of what a contrail is in layman's terms. A contrail, condensation trail, for those that don't know that vernacular, a condensation trail exits the engines of the plane at a certain altitude, and about 15 to 25 seconds later, it's gone. It just starts, disappearing, out of the plane. It comes out of the plane, you see the tail, you see the, the trail there, and then the trail itself starts disappearing and you see blue sky. A chemtrail doesn't do that. It sticks around for a very, very long time and spreads out. I have video, I have documentation, I have all of that. You chemtrail skeptics and deniers better shut your big damn pie holes because you don't know what you're talking about. I've got the information, and so do millions of others. You are absolutely and positively wrong. Okay? That's just the way it is. Now, if you just want to ignore all that and continue to live within your own little deluded world, you go right ahead. That leads me into talking about the propaganda you see on the state-run media. They will tell you, and there have been reports about alleged chemtrails, this kind of, I say alleged because that's what they say. the state-run media says. And it is out there. And it is known by people that the state-run media lies through their teeth. I will tell you that all day long. They lie through their teeth. I don't care if it's Al Jazeera America. I don't care if it's RT America. I don't care if it's the American propaganda machines of all the networks that you see. They lie. Well, they got to have some truth to be on the air. Well, I agree with that theory. Some truth. They don't have it all. You know why? Because their careers would be over in 5 minutes if they exposed everything that was going on. Okay? I want you to understand that there is this high degree of ignorance when it comes to this whole issue of propaganda. Oh, and by the way, the Supreme Court did say that anybody can say anything, and it doesn't matter if it's propaganda or not. That, the U.S. Supreme Court said, yeah, you can say whatever you want. But see, I'm a little bit different than that. In other, cases, other courts and have shot down that Supreme Court, thing saying you have to have certain amounts of evidence, blah, blah, blah. Go look at the court cases. It's all out there. It's all on record. But the fact of the matter is this. When I say something, when anybody says something, when your friends tell you something, when your family tells you something, are you going to be so contentious to sit there and to argue with them because you think you're right? You think that within your own little cookie cutter world, you've deluded yourself enough with your own little things of the way you think things should be that you're going to be contentious with your own family, friends, coworkers, people around you? You need some serious help. I've spent way too many years, 35 plus years, investigating everything that people told me. And I threw it back in their face. And they backed down and they understood that I was very well educated and wasn't some dumbass. Got it? Because I pay attention and I know how to put two and two together. I know how to work in such a way to where it's a process of elimination. And I get rid of all the skeptical things, even though I have a healthy dose of skepticism myself. I look at everything around me and say, interesting. Let me take a look at this. I look at everything around me and I ask myself, wow, is that truly how it is? Let's take a look. And I add two and two together. And I seriously have to do that. Why? It's real simple. I got to prove to myself that I'm right. Well, it's other people's opinion, it's other people's views, and it's all that. So how do you know you're right? Oh, you must have skipped the part I said that I put two and two together. You must have thought that I just take one resource and that's just the way it is and that's the one I'm going to use and, no. When a man like Pat Robertson of the 700 Club can say that the earth is not 6,000 years old and that the scientific evidence proves that it is not 6,000 years old, he is literally saying that the Bible is not divinely written. When somebody talks to me about chemtrails or about Dulce, which is supposedly an underground base, or Area 51, or a number of things like that, I got the facts. And if I've overlooked something, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm wrong. That just means I overlooked something. Because I seek the truth. I find the facts. I put two and two together. I'm not some dumbass that's going to be contentious with me and say that I'm wrong. Okay? Because all I'm going to do is look at other people and say, well, do the same thing I did. Prove yourself right. I had to prove it to myself that I was right. Why can't you do that? Because here's why. Number one, they don't want to. Number two, their excuse is, I don't have to prove anything to anybody. And that's a quote, by the way. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. Period. Don't like it? Hey, go ahead. Sit in your chair, watch your stupid reality shows, do all that, and just, live in your own little deluded world. Because I'll show you every single piece that I have. Like I said, I have a healthy dose of skepticism, number one. Number two, I may have overlooked something. But you're going to be contentious with me and say that I'm wrong when you don't have the balls to prove to yourself that you're right. Let's see. Conversation over. I don't like it when people... I don't like it when people criticize me. Matter of fact, let me tell you one of the 4 personal principles that I live by. No one has a right to criticize me for things they don't understand. What? Yeah. All you got to do is ask me, I'll tell you. Don't criticize me, just sit down and ask me. We'll have lunch. I'll buy you a drink. Yeah, no big deal. But if you're going to sit there and point fingers and criticize me, number one, you don't have a right to do that. But if you are going to do that, then you better have something to back it up with, because I'll just shove you at the top of my dumbass list. I know I'm very harsh, but last year, I know this is February, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'll make this statement again. I am not going to pull any punches. I am not going to let anybody off the hook. Oh, and I hope that no one lets me off the hook. You see, it plays both ways. I don't mind. It just makes me a better person, makes me a better researcher, helps me with everything. So thank you. But if you're going to sit there and tell me that you don't have to prove yourself right, and you're going to criticize me, and you're going to, just yell at me and try to outshout me and yeah, bye, have a nice day, dumbass. I'm not going to put up with it. You're full of BS, and that's just the way it is. So all these things about chemtrails and all that specifically, let me say that before I go to break. All that is out there to be proven to you so that you can be right. Oh, wait, I almost forgot one little tidbit of information as well. You don't want to admit you're wrong. Well, I got something to say to you, sunshine. Bye, have a nice day. What is reality? The foundation of reality is based on many concepts. Each person perceives reality differently. In the book, The Grid by Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman, they explore the hidden infrastructure of reality. Get your copy today at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. The Grid by Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman. Hey folks, welcome back. Now I know I'm harsh. I know I am. I make no apologies. No apologies whatsoever. None, zero, zip, zilch. Unless I know I'm wrong. then I don't mind. Okay, just want to put that as the capstone onto that. Speaking of capstone, go check out wakingupthemasses.com and Bob Brutus with his show Waking Up the Masses. Kicking the capstone at wakingupthemasses.com. I got so much going on in my head, I forget sometimes. Wakingupthemasses.com, kicking the capstone with your host, Bob Brutus, right there at wakingupthemasses.com. Also broadcasting on Waking Up the Masses, 1650 a.m. in the Chickamauga, Georgia area. So that's where this show goes as well. So I want to say hello to all my listeners in the Chickamauga, Georgia area. Anyway, what do we do? Here we are. We're humanity. We're part of society. We have a faith in insert name of deity here. And we oftentimes overlook the most simplest things. Why? Because we're too busy complicating that simplicity. I know, big words, huh, folks? We're too busy complicating the most simplest things in life to try to make sense in a very complicated way of a very simplistic thing. Kind of an ironic, well, I wouldn't even want to say ironic. We're looking at something so simple that we're creating complicated thoughts in our head to try to figure it out when it's not that complicated to figure out something so simple. How's that? You got that now? Is that a little more? Is that simplified for you a little more? I have taken many hours. I looked at stuff like Occam's razor and researched many different concepts of that nature. I've looked at the most simplest things and realized that's way too simple, but I figured it out. It's pretty much 1 + 1 = 2. Unless you're in Common Core, then my God. When you look at something, I'm going to go back to the first, prior to the break, go back in the first segment. When you look at something, is it not what you think it is? Now, how do you know? Because you have to compare and contrast that with what you already had been taught it was and is. Let me give you an example. Close your eyes. Close your eyes and think of a cat. Yes, a little cat. A little meow cat. Yes, a little cat. Doesn't matter what color it is. It's a cat, right? Okay, open your eyes. Thank you. When I said to picture a cat, what did you see? Saw a cat, right? Didn't matter. It's a little tiny cat, a little bigger cat, a little house cat, a lion, a tiger, that kind of thing. They're cats, by the way. So you saw that. You know that because you were taught that that's a cat. Okay. When you see something that doesn't fit within your concept of what that thing, whatever it is you're looking at, is, your brain decides to try to contrast or try to compare it to something. What is it? Oh, it could be this. No, that doesn't know. And it could be, and that. Your mind works overtime trying to compare it. Greatest example of how your mind can compare or try to compare things to what it already knows is remember you were younger, and you probably get this anyway in some parts, but remember when your screen had all that snow on it? When your cable went out or your antenna or the power went out, you got all that snow all over the TV, and you'd sit there and you'd see these little lines and stuff, and Your mind was all it was static. But your mind was trying to compare it because it saw pictures on there at one point. And now your brain's going, hey, the pictures are gone. Oh, hey, wait, I think look, it looks like a dog. All it is snow on the screen of your TV, and your brain, your mind is trying to make sense of it all. Okay? And when we look around at today, it's what's happening today in our world, we try to make sense of it all and try to compare it, try to make sense of it, and find out how right it is or how wrong it is by what we were taught, by that picture in our mind. I mean, it's that simple. Give you another example. Picture a flag. I didn't tell you what flag, did I? Picture a flag. What do you see? You see a flag. Now, I just said a flag. I didn't specify what kind of flag, just a flag. And the first thing you probably thought of was your nation's or your state or your national flag, right? Well, what if I was going to be specific and said, well, those flags you see at the baseball games, those little like pendant type flags. How about that one? That's a flag. What about when a football referee throws their flag? That's just a piece of rag but it's a flag. Oh, threw a flag on the field. There it is. That's a flag. What about a torn t-shirt tied onto a stick, waved in the air? That's a flag. See how complicated it becomes when it's really so simple. Simplest thing to do is to look at what's there and say, oh, that's what it is. Instead of going, that's not really, no, that can't be. That can't be what it is. And that's the excuse people use. That can't be what it is. It's got to be something more. It's got to be something less. Let me dovetail that into, oh, our government wouldn't do anything to us. 9/11 wasn't an inside job. No, it can't be that. There's no way. You people, you conspiracy theorists are all wrong. Really? When we have the evidence to prove that it was an inside job? Huh. Do you understand now? When you see something, your mind is definitely going to try to compare it to something it already knows or it had already seen, because you remember a lot on your time track. There's a lot of stuff in your memory that you don't bring forward, but your brain, without you even doing anything, is going to see something and immediately go back to something that it can compare it to try to make it try to make a comparison to it. In other words, your brain, your mind, your thoughts are trying to equalize everything and say, yeah, that's what it is, but that's off. Something's different. See? So anyway, what do we see? What do we see? We see a very corrupt president in the White House. We see a very corrupt regime in Congress. Not all of them, just most of them. We see we see criminal activity coming out of the Washington, D.C., and we, the people, are really, really pissed off about it. Okay? And because we are, the White House and all of that already know that we're pissed off. And they've got people up there telling them, oh, you better watch out for those people on the fringes. They're gonna try something. They're gonna do something violent. Oh my God, they're gonna do something. And that whole rhetoric is being pushed on that side of the aisle. I say no, let's do it peacefully. I've heard many different people say there's going to be a revolution. I have even said it. in this country. And there is. And it's going to make the revolution of 1776 look like a birthday party in a park. Nothing is going to stop it from happening. Aside from a major attack. And from within the halls of Washington, D.C. and Congress, that major attack is being played out, war-gamed, if you will, between all the strategists, all the scribes, all these people that are up there at the top of the kingdom, over there doing whatever it is they're doing to look down upon us as their subjects. And there are people there called themselves experts that are going to say, well, you know, those people out there on the fringes, they're going to do something and we know it. And we are speculating that they're going to do this because they're really pissed off at us right now. And they're telling the president and his members that same story. But let me tell you something. They are the ones creating the problem. We are the ones reacting to the problem. And when all the crap hits the fan, guess who's going to come in with the solution to the problem? I don't know why you can't see that, but I can tell you this much. If you don't see it, you're not paying attention. If you don't see it, you are not paying attention. And the one thing that I want to drive home in this point in the next minute and a half, next 2 minutes, is the fact that people will never, ever, did I say ever, want to know the truth. On the other hand, 75% to 80% of the people in America right now are very, 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 very pissed off. And they have a problem, and that problem is they don't care. I said this in my previous podcast from the Wayne S. Pierce Show earlier today, so check it out. If you want to email me, you can. freeamericaradio@unseen.is. freeamericaradio@unseen.is. You can also use the email right there on the Spreaker side of things as well. That would be freeamericaradio@usa.com. You can go to the website, freeamericaradio.us, freeamericaradio.us. I shall return right after this. What's that moving in the shadows? Claranormal Talk Radio with your host, Steve Hembry, right here on RadioKahuna.com. The people of the world are bound by the collective mindset of the true controllers of the United States of America and the rest of the world. The chains of tyranny are being tightened around the liberties and freedoms of free societies. It is the obligation and the duty of those that seek to adhere to the principles of our founding fathers to defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights from enemies, foreign and domestic. We the people have the power. We have the ability to change the direction of our lives. We have the ability to get the word out to others that we must rise, stand, and defend our families and friends from the onslaught of the leaders that want tyranny in the United States of America. We, the people, have the power. We are America. The views expressed, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Spreaker.com.
Listen to Angel Clark Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Radio Freedom News Network. RadioFreedom.us.
It's time to take our republic back, folks. Brian Bonner, the Uncooperative Radio Show host, will tell you how. Join us for the ride of your life. Using humor and the facts, we will expose the news that the lamestream media refuses to report. The Constitution is a solution, and we can prove it. Listen in and find out what it means to be an uncooperative citizen of these United States. You can find our show at uncooperativerradio.com, and we are rebroadcast on redstatetalkradio.com.
What's on your mind? Chances are it's on their mind, too. Check out Diana and Wayne's Crab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on Spreaker.com.
For the best Southern, classic, and new rock, along with kicking country and R&B, check out Wildcat Radio for the Friday night party. The fun begins at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, with local, state, and national news from the Alabama News Network at the top and bottom of every hour. It's Wildcat Radio's Friday Night Party, a division of the Vulcan Internet Broadcast Company.
No elitist dribble, no media spin. Logic over emotion, fact over fiction. The home of independent conservative thought. The Conservative Voice with your host, Jeff Wagner, only on the Conservative Radio Network.
Hey, folks. Welcome back to the Views Expressed podcast. How are you today? It's Friday, the 7th of February, 2014. Oh, my. FreeAmericaRadio.us or email me at freeamericaradio@unseen.is. freeamericaradio@unseen.is. So many things are going on. So many things are going on, yet so many people will not, cannot, won't, and refuse to accept anything outside of the realm of reality. Yeah, that's right, folks. Let me make this decree right here on this show. The 7th of February, 2014. I'm not going to listen to anybody who hasn't accepted the facts. That's just the way it is. Okay? A lot of things going on in the news today I wanted to share with you. Thank you for listening to me rant and rave and drone on in the first half hour. It's only going to be another half hour, folks. I usually do 1 hour podcasts. You can come check out the Views Express live Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker.com and also on freeamericaradio.us and also out there on Waking Up the Masses, 1650 a.m. in the Chickamauga, Georgia area. Hello, all you folks out there in Georgia. The I have to get back to this little article from Reuters. Khalid Harari. Syria executes civilians from besieged Homs center. Homs, Syria. Reuters is reporting Syria excuse me, did I say execute? I'm sorry. Let me read that headline again. See, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll tell you. No big deal. Syria evacuates. There we go. Syria evacuates, not executes. Jeez. Syria evacuates civilians from besieged Homs center. Syria evacuated 83 civilians on Friday who had lived under government siege in the devastated city of Homs for a year and a half, the first concrete result of talks launched 2 weeks ago to try to end the country's civil war. Buses ferried dozens of wary-looking evacuees accompanied by Syrian Arab Red Crescent. That's their version of the Red Cross. To a meeting point outside of Homs where aid workers, soldiers, and police were gathered. The World Food Program said many appeared malnourished. Quote, they were living on leaves and grass and olives and whatever they could find, unquote, WPF spokesman Elizabeth Byers said. The long-awaited move was meant to have been a relatively short or straightforward opening step in the peace talks, which resume on Monday in Geneva, with little prospect of resolving core grievances of a conflict which has killed 130,000 people. It marked the start of a planned 3-day humanitarian ceasefire, but even as it took place, activists said they feared for the fate of both evacuees and those left behind. Under the Homs deal, women and children and old men were allowed to leave the old city, which has been cut off by President Bashar al-Assad's forces, while humanitarian supplies will be allowed in to those who remain. Quote, the United Nations can confirm that 83 people were evacuated from Old Homs City today, unquote, a UN spokesman, Farhan Haj. Nope, that's a Q. Haq, yeah. Quote, the people, women, children, and the elderly were then delivered to places of their choice, escorted by United Nations and Syrian Arab Red Crescent staff, unquote. It was the first time the Red Crescent had gained access to the city of Homs since the siege began, the aid agency said. The WFP said it had trucks ready to take a month's supply of food on Saturday to an estimated 2,500 people trapped in the rebel-held heart of the city. Quote, there are signs of malnutrition. Of some of them, it is very obvious, unquote, Byers said. Quote, some said they have not eaten bread in 5 months, unquote. Russia said a 3-day ceasefire had been agreed in the city, which was one of the first areas to erupt in protest against Assad nearly 3 years ago, and where street after street has been destroyed in heavy fighting between Assad's forces and rebels seeking his overthrow. Syrian authorities had announced that evacuees would be given medical treatment and shelter, and that residents of the old Homs who prefer to remain will be sent humanitarian aid. Moscow, which has supported and armed Assad throughout the civil war, hailed the Homs deal as a quote-unquote landmark agreement. Western officials gave a skeptical response, saying Syria had an unconditional obligation to civilians trapped by conflict and arguing the issue should not have required weeks of negotiation to allow aid to enter. Quote, the regime should let the humanitarian convoy in. The population should decide to stay or leave, unquote, said John Wilkes, Britain's special representative for Syria. Rebels have rejected similar offers to evacuate women and children in the past because of concerns about what might happen to any men, including fighters, who were left behind. Dozens of men were detained and disappeared after a similar deal made last year in, I can't pronounce that word, but it's a town west of Damascus. Ailing civilians remain. There were differing reports about where the evacuees were headed. An activist in the old city of Homs said they were being taken to Al-War, a neighborhood on the northwestern edge of Homs where many of the city's Sunni population have already fled. Quote, "We are very concerned that some of the people who arrive in War today will be arrested by the regime later," unquote, Hassan Abu Zain said by Skype. Quote, "Last night the regime shelled the old city, and this morning it shelled War in the very place we are sending these people to for safety," unquote. He said one man who approached the first bus of evacuation had been shot and wounded by a sniper, blaming Assad's forces for the shooting. There was no comment from officials who have frequently blamed rebels for firing on humanitarian convoys. Chances are it was Assad's men. Television footage of one bus which brought the evacuees out appeared to show several bullet holes in the back of the vehicle, though it was not clear when the damage occurred. UN Aid Chief Valerie Amos welcomed Friday's operation as, quote, "a breakthrough and a small but important step towards a compliance with international humanitarian law," unquote. But, quote, she said she understood that many civilians, sick and wounded, remain in the old city of Homs, Haq said. Australia, Luxembourg, and Jordan presented the 5 permanent UN Security Council members a draft resolution demanding full access for humanitarian aid workers across Syria. It was quickly dismissed by Russia as a quote-unquote non-starter. Russia wants to keep the war going on there, folks. And we have our people in Sochi in the Olympics. Homs Governor Talal al-Barazi said earlier that the first group of evacuees from Homs would include children under 15, men over 55, and women. He said reception centers had been set up to receive and treat people leaving the old city, although those evacuated were free to go wherever they liked. Quote, "We hope this first step will succeed and will continue tomorrow after tomorrow and so on to ensure safe exit to all civilians who want to leave the old city," unquote. Barazi said that Christian residents were also trying to leave the city center, but officials had not yet managed to secure them safe passage from their homes in the Hamadiyya and Bustan al-Diwan districts of the city. Quote, "God willing, we'll be able to provide better conditions for those who are in the old city to safely exit," unquote. The deal took much longer than diplomats expected, boding ill for the future of the peace talks, which the opposition says must focus on political transition, which world powers called for after June 2012 meeting in Geneva. The government says the priority is to end terrorism, a label it gives to all armed opposition, and says political transition, which it rejects, is only part of the agenda. Folks, Syrian rebels and the opposition there as well, they're all paid by the CIA. It's all paid for by your tax dollars. It's all funded by the same group. And the people are the collateral damage. And the people that stay want to stay, and the people that want to leave. And these centers that they go to, these facilities that they go to when the people leave, yeah. And people have disappeared from war. I mean, come on. From that town, come on. Give me a break. State news agency SANA, S-A-N-A, cited Deputy Foreign Minister Faisal Mekdad on Friday, confirming the government would attend the second round of talks and demand a discussion, quote, article by article, unquote, to the 2012 Geneva Communiqué. Quote, restoring peace and stability throughout the Syrian Arab Republic requires putting an end to terrorism and violence, as is said in the Geneva Communiqué, unquote, Mekdad said. Syria's conflict began with peaceful protests against 4 decades of Assad family rule and degenerated into an armed insurgency after a fierce security crackdown. Which we started, folks. Now the major Arab state is in full-scale civil war that has killed more than 130,000 people and forced over 6 million, nearly a third of the population, to flee their homes. That is exactly what this country is doing, folks. Our country, the United States, military-industrial complex, they go in, they disrupt a country by putting in their own operatives, Syrian rebels, blah, blah, blah. They do that, and then they come back to us. They create the problem. The people react. And then they come to us and say, hey, we wiped out about a third of the people, or, quite a few people, and the leader is still not stepping down. We need the military-industrial complex from the United States to come and take care of this situation. You don't think that's going to happen, folks? Let me give you two names. Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi. I'm just putting it out there, folks. I'm just putting it out there. So, if in fact there is peace in the Middle East, what's going to happen? Well, what about here in our own backyard? Okay? From the Christian Science Monitor, House Republicans near a deal to raise the debt ceiling. Why? Why raise the debt ceiling? That's like you getting a credit card with a $1,500 limit. You can't pay it. You maxed it out. What, you think the credit card company's going to give you another $500 on credit? No. After leveraging the debt ceiling to exact trillions in spending cuts in 2011, and they didn't cut that much, House GOP leaders are closing in on a more modest proposal, but it will require help from Democrats to pass. As the U.S. debt limit extension expired Friday, signaling that the nation can no longer borrow money to pay its bills, a plan to raise the debt limit and avoid default started to take shape. How the hell are they going to pay their bills? Even if they raise the debt limit, you know what I'm saying? House Republicans are moving toward legislation that would raise the debt ceiling through the first quarter of next year and at the same time restore recent cuts in some veterans' retirement benefits and patch Medicare reimbursement rate for 9 months, according to Politico. Time is of the essence. In a letter to the congressional leadership on Friday, Treasury Secretary Jacob Lew said that measures to fund the government won't last beyond February 27th. Moreover, Secretary Lew has fewer bookkeeping tricks to prolong the deadline than was the case during previous bids to raise the debt ceiling. The onset of the tax filing season complicates his ability to forestall default. House Speaker John Boehner, Republican of Ohio, promised on Thursday that the GOP-led House will indeed raise the debt cap. Quote, "We're not going to default on our debt," unquote, he stated. He even noted the possibility of a vote on, quote-unquote, a clean bill, free of any GOP conditions. The reported package, which increases spending on two programs, albeit with offsetting cuts, would be in a stark contrast to 2011, when the House exacted more than $2.4 trillion in spending cuts over the next 10 years, including $1 trillion in automatic cross-the-board budget cuts known as, quote-unquote, sequester. Wait a minute, folks. I just want to stop right there before going on. We don't have money. We're borrowing. We can't borrow money anymore, okay? We're out of money. We're $17 trillion in debt. USDebtClock.org. USDebtClock.org. That's not counting the fake money they pull out of their ass, the monopoly money they just print up from the Treasury. I shouldn't say fake money. Let's put it this way. Derivatives are fake. Period. End of sentence. It's monopoly money. Your toilet paper is worth more than that. It's just digital currency that isn't backed by anything, and it's just a quote-unquote IOU that you are going to owe to the federal government because they say you do. There's no actual proof that you do. Look at Iceland. Look what happened to them with the EU. Same thing. It is, from what Patrick Henningsen says over at 21stcenturywire.com, it literally, I can't remember what he said. I had it on my mind and it was right there. Sorry, go to 21stcenturywire.com and look up the debt ceiling and look up any articles about that. But literally it is not going to work. Oh, I know what he said. He said that the derivatives add to the debt to the tune of about $2.5 quadrillion that the government thinks you and I owe. He said 1.5 quadrillion. I say about anywhere between 1.8 and 2.4. On average, it's going to push up here within the next year. It's probably going to push up to about $2.5 quadrillion in derivatives, fake money. Just make up a number, folks. Just put $10,000 in there and you owe it to us. Really? Let me see it. Well, you can't. Really? Make up a number, folks. Go to your friend and say, you owe me $100,000. For what? Oh, for all the times you did this, and here's this, and I'll give you an itemized. He doesn't owe it, folks. We don't owe this money. What we owe is on the books, the $17 trillion. We don't owe any of the rest. Matter of fact, when you break it down, we don't even owe the $17 trillion. Okay? Let me continue on because I'm almost done here. I got 8 minutes left. 2011, the House was riding the crest of the Tea Party wave, which pounded Washington with demands to end the excessive spending and borrowing. That May, when the national debt was $14 trillion, Mr. Boehner gave a forceful speech at the Economic Club of New York demanding budget cuts that, quote, should be greater than the accompanying increase in debt authority that the president is given, unquote. But the political climate in February of 2014 is considerably cooler than the hothouse of August 2011, when the United GOP caucus took the nation right up to the edge of default before the debt deal called the Budget Control Act was signed. This time around, Boehner has struggled to find agreement in his own caucus on the package of conditions, and they are hardly of the $1 trillion variety. The debt is higher now at more than $17 trillion, but the nation is weary and cautious of the hardball GOP tactics that brought the partial government shutdown of last October. So are some of the conservative Republicans. Quote, I do not want to get into a cataclysmic fight, unquote, says Representative Paul Labrador, Republican of Idaho. Congress also faces midterm elections, which was not the case in 2011. The types of debt ceiling plans that the Speaker has been considering also show how times have changed. In general, they are smaller bore and some more designed to score political points than advance much, if any, structural change to the budget or federal programs. This week, Boehner discarded suggestions to attach a debt limit legislation, a requirement that the administration sign the Keystone XL pipeline deal and get rid of the insurance quote-unquote risk corridors under Obamacare. What's reportedly taking shape now are measures to restore a trim to pensions for veterans under 62. Last year's budget agreement called for $6 billion in cuts, and to avoid mandated double-digit cuts in reimbursements for doctors serving Medicare patients, called the Doc Fix. These spending increases would be offset by cuts to mandatory spending and changes to pension contributions, Politico reports. But as Boehner acknowledged this week, it will be tough to find 218 Republican votes to pass a package of conditions attached to the debt ceiling increase. On Thursday, he quipped, quote, "Mother Teresa is a saint now, but if the Congress wanted to make her a saint and attach this to the debt ceiling, we probably couldn't get 218 Republican votes. The Democrats are not saints in the eyes of the Republicans, but in the end, they might save the day in the financial markets by helping the Speaker pass a bill free of conditions that many in his conference will refuse to support." It boils down to this, folks. They can no longer rob Peter to pay Paul. They can no longer borrow money. They can no longer do anything that they used to be able to do. So now they're coming after you. They're coming after your pensions in terms of, I'm talking not only military, but also your retirement pensions as well. They're coming after that by saying, we will not raise the cost of living, the COLA. We will cut what we send to the veterans under 62 years old. We will do this. They're trying to cut everything back and take money out of your pockets that you've been used to getting. And then what are they going to do? Well, they're going to have to close the books. In other words, this whole system is going to have to collapse under its own weight of financial mismanagement. And I following this as much as I do, I can tell you right now, this will fall apart. This whole deal, what is this? $2.4 trillion over the next 10 years. No. Why don't we make the cuts now? I know how to cut this. Why don't we tell each and every single politician in Congress, all 535 of them, that if you don't reach a deal by October of this year, we will hold your pay back. We will go to the states and file all of the paperwork that we need to file as citizens to hold your pay back. We don't want you getting paid until you do exactly what we tell you to do, because we are the boss. And that is how it should be, because we the people voted those jackasses into office. Don't you think it's their duty to do what we tell them to do? Here's why they don't. The corporations and the bankers and the offshore interests, including Russia and China, will not allow any of those politicians to do anything that we the people want done. Why? Because we don't live in a capitalistic republic. We live in a corporatist democracy. Okay? That's what we live in. And as long as the bankers and the Federal Reserve and the IRS and all these people and all the corporations are running Washington, D.C., you and I are the slaves. We are enslaved, folks. That's what it is. I want to get out of here. I did this at 1 hour podcast because that's all I do for my podcast. The live show is 2 hours, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Right there on Spreaker and freeamericaradio.us. Email me at freeamericaradio@unseen.is. freeamericaradio@unseen.is. Catch me next week, Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on Free America Radio Network. We the people have the power, for we are America.